Hello everyone, watch this review here where they look at Masters of the Universe, Draego-Man, and let me start by saying that it's just been a pain in the ass waiting for this guy, seeing everybody's reviews go live and stuff, knowing that they all have theirs in hand, and yet, mine still hadn't arrived. I mean, in some cases I can understand it, because the Club Eternia ships a little bit earlier, but a few people who I don't think were subscribed to the club had even gotten their product already, so... yeah. Definitely one of the figures I was most eagerly anticipating this year. I was blown away when I saw this design at Comic-Con, or in the Comic-Con footage. It's an originally created character, because it was too cool to exist back then. Coolness technology has only recently got us to this point, but now, and I especially like the fact that he resembles a villain from an old beat 'em up game. I can't remember what the hell the name of it was though. It was some fantasy themed one, kind of like a Golden Axe game. Here's a look at the generic white mailer, so tossing it in there for no good reason. By the way, I had the misfortune of arriving on a rainy day, so I come home, package is half out of the mailbox, and soggy, so it's a good thing that they do include these mailers because it protected it a little bit. Hold on a second and I'll get them out of the box. Let me start by saying that this is a sort of tall figure. If you want to jump back and look at the opening again, you'll notice that his head wasn't completely visible in the packaging shot. But at the same time, despite, I guess, the kind of height, it's not like he's ginormous compared to the other Masters. Here's King Grayskull. I can't see with the fist in the way, but he's only slightly taller than all that. Just judging from the package and stuff, I thought he was going to be a whole, head or two taller, but, it's basically, maybe half a head. Well, the horns and just the fact that the crest kind of rises up the back. That's probably not the right words. Now, originally his character was supposed to come with a whole bunch of other accessories. I don't remember what all of them were, but I do remember that one of them was going to be a shield. Well, it's somewhat disappointing that they did scale back a little bit. The flaming sword, definitely sort of a cool accessory that... I mean, I guess it's just cool that we got that, even if we didn't get the rest. And given that, this is a larger figure, I can kind of understand them not including that much. By the way, when you get them in pack, the wings and tail are separate. You have to plug the tail into the base here, and the wings have a little ball socket thingy that pops in, which allows the rotation, and you have the additional sort of forward back, the actual joint. It is surprisingly easy to pop the wings back out. Or at least it was. Maybe it wasn't insecurely the first time around, so... looks like that issue is fixed. One of the larger disappointments, though, is the fact that, it looks like it's going to be a bendy portion, but it's not actually a bendy tail. You can rotate it and stuff, but it's not quite the same thing. And the tail does help with the balance and everything, which is kind of nice. The other sort of disappointment is that they didn't opt to give us a openable mouth, which, wouldn't have been that hard to do. It's actually kind of funny because in pack and stuff, one of the rubber bands is kind of twisted around the mouth, so it also kind of suggests that, the mouth does open, but of course it doesn't. If you've seen the previous videos and all that, you'd probably be aware of it. A very cool looking figure all around. I like the head sculpt quite a bit. This one's scary ass mosquito. Yeah. Alright. So, yeah. Guess I could have just swung the figure at him, but I don't want to wreck this just yet. As I was saying, it's a really neat design. It's an originally created character. I mean, obviously sculpted by the Four Horsemen. a lot of people make a whole big deal about, oh, the Four Horsemen sculpted this, they sculpted that, but, I mean, yeah, if you're picking up a Masters of the Universe Classics figure, it's kind of a given that the Four Horsemen sculpted it. Don't need to point it out. Sort of ditto for DC Universe Classics. I believe that they've done pretty much everything for it. I mean, if you look at the armored portions, it's kind of neat. Although at the same time it's sort of confusing the way that they opted for the design, where it's got this sort of plated looking armor for the chest here, and then if you look at the actual arms, they opt for like the same sort of kind of plating for the scales. So I'm not sure if these are just supposed to be like colored bands that represent the arms, and they're actually part of the armor rather than part of his skin. Because if you look at the skin, he's got like normal scales on it. Well, on the back of the hand, it does look like it's kind of the same sort of plates. That is really weird. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to think about this. The sort of disappointing thing about the sculpt is they opted for cheaper plastic in places, like the horns here. So, it's not very cool. Especially because the horns kind of default to a sort of pose where they're touching the center, where I'd rather have them be spread out a little bit or something. Well, I guess, with the sort of softer material, it does give you the option of posing them as you like if you bend the plastic in such a way. The general design is this sort of crazy purple mixed with a natural red skin tone, with blue highlights for the purple armor. It's got a sort of glittery effect to it, or glitter in the paint. It's actually a really nice shade. It's a lot nicer than the purple that they used. Then on the wings, it's got all these really excellent shades of orange and little bits of red. It's a really neat look, despite the fact that the rest of the figure looks like it's more just solid colors. And I guess they did apply a little bit of shading on the back of the wings there, which is also decent. Again, absolutely love this head sculpt. It's so cool. And he's got his little dragon crest thing there. He is affiliated with Skeletor. I guess he's their flying guy, which is pretty neat. I mean, whenever you can have a somewhat dragon creature on the villain side. So, dragons, I've always associated more with villains than heroes. Sort of a big bad. Also, the same blues on the shins there. It's kind of weird too, where, when you've got this armor and then they still opt for the loincloth, but, the loincloth is kind of a He-Man tradition. And given that's sort of a consistent element in the line, I guess it's kind of how they tried to integrate this completely new character, this figure, into the sort of general line. So, I mean, while he is quite a bit different than a lot of the other stuff you've seen, I mean, it's not like he's drastically different. I mean, a character like this you totally would expect to see in the He-Man universe, and in fact, you're probably wondering right now, why haven't we seen him sooner? Now, earlier I was talking about the fact that he was supposed to come with accessories. I didn't point out the fact that the one accessory he does come with, and didn't really look at it in close detail, but it's a blazing sword. Not to be confused with the one from Voltron. It's got a sort of cool mix of a translucent orange and a translucent yellow. I'm not sure if it's different cast plastic, or if it's just a translucent plastic and they applied sort of a color on top of it, but it's neat nonetheless. It's also got a sort of bit of change of color right at the tip there. The rest is more or less solid. Yeah, really cool. In terms of articulation, quick run through here. He has ankle articulation. Sorry, ankle pivot, I meant to say, which you don't so often see on the male figures, I believe. No, actually you do. It's just a somewhat deeper pivot, though. Seems to go a little bit further. Yeah. A single joint here at the knee. Sort of usual range. Legs, usual range of motion. As always, it's a sort of cool joint. Then you have the rotation as well. Waist rotates. Now, while it looks like this is a torso joint, this is actually a piece of plastic, a thick rubbery plastic, applied over the portion of the figure, and it's actually just a normal ab crunch. Not even a great ab crunch at that. It's really impeded because of the tail on one side and the chest plate on the other side. Head rotates. It's got some very minor up-down. It really can't go up, which is a shame considering he's a dragon. He can fly. When dragons fly, you'd expect them to be looking forward. He can't look forward. He can only look below. But just due to the fact it's not a physical ball, you can also kind of cock the head a little bit to the side if you want. So he's confused, he's quizzical, whatever. He's an inquisitive dragon. Ball jointed shoulder, usual range, rotation at bicep, single jointed elbow, rotation at wrist, and again, really cool sculpting of the hands here, more of a soft rubbery plastic, just sort of accommodate different weapons and stuff, though he only comes with one weapon. At the wings we have the sort of ball and socket, and then also in sort of outward motion, which is part of a ball and socket. You can get like a sort of full range on this in addition to the outward, but I mean realistically it's not like you can pose it a whole bunch of different ways, and I do kind of wish they had done something different with the wings, just so he could really spread the wings out and stuff, instead of just always having them like half-mast, which, I don't know, it's probably not a huge deal. I guess they'd probably have had to go with like material or something, like a fabric, instead, or sort of a pleated effort, and I guess this probably looks better. Then of course you have rotation here. Looks like it's a bendy, but it's not a bendy. Darn you, Mattel, for not giving us a bendy. All around, really nice looking figure. I do like the fact that they have a little sculpted backbone here underneath the armor and everything. So I mean you can see it despite the fact that it's not really a visible point. I know it's just a really nice all-around looking figure, and definitely one of the cooler things that's popped up in the line so far, despite being an originally created character. And also one of the things I've really anticipated, and I am liking quite a bit so far.